So the people you train, are they already trained interpreters, or do you take fresh people and do them from scratch?
That was a very hot button question for us, because most of the work being done in the field is being done by untrained interpreters. So a lot of us said, oh, we have to design the program so that it can be taught to trained or untrained. And others said no, they disagreed. It should be taught only as an add-on on top of basic training. And so that's why we did the needs assessment. And the needs assessment showed us loud and clear, this is too specialized. They must come into the program with at least, at a minimum, 40 hours of basic training in community, medical, or legal interpreting, because those are the three areas we identified as the areas interpreters work in for survivors.
What kind of things would you need to look at to equip these interpreters to deal with fairly serious post-traumatic stress, as this really is?
Well, certainly the issue of secondary trauma, or vicarious trauma, as you call it, which can actually indeed lead to post-traumatic stress disorder for the interpreters, never mind the survivors. That was the single issue that we identified as the greatest. And in the therapists working together with the interpreters and the interpreter training specialists did establish special techniques both for before, during, and after the session, including, and this is critical, the development of a wellness plan. I don't mean the usual interpreter training wellness plan, which is find out what works for you and do a lot of that, but specific, a wellness plan based on behavioral objectives, the SMART objectives, specific, measurable, appropriate, realistic time. In other words, it's a very serious wellness plan. But there are a lot of other issues that happen during the session that the interpreters needed special guidance on. Things, if you're interpreting, for instance, you were trained to interpret in first person. That is your default always, unless there's a specific reason to switch. Well, if you're listening to what a torturer has done in the past to a human being who may be screaming, who may be weeping, who may be going into silence for 5 minutes, who may be reacting in all the ways that you've never had to interpret before, one of the ways you can help yourself is switching to third person so that you don't feel that it's happening to you. And there is some research that supports that in and of itself is traumatic. Remember that the interpreter is the one person who gets to experience it twice. They hear it and then they repeat it in another language, and they have to process it in between. So there's a lot of very specific techniques that were developed to help not only protect the interpreter against secondary trauma, but interpret accurately while these cognitive demands are being put on them.
As a non-profit organization, you may not be making a profit, but you still have costs. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing any serious support for your work?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we have 18 language company sponsors at this point, which is really delightful, and we're very proud of that. Our industry is supporting us in this way really means a lot. In fact, we just received our first internationally based sponsorship from a company in Ireland, Kilgrave. So that was a lovely start going beyond North America. But the truth of the matter is we have to make a long-term decision. We're an all-volunteer organization, and at this point I think we have to make a decision if we're moving to a staff-based organization, which would involve a new infrastructure, writing grant proposals, becoming a truly permanent, established nonprofit organization.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.